Hello out there in cryptocurrency land. Welcome back to Real Crypto. Thank you for joining me again today. We're going to talk today about Bitcoin.tax. And I have an affiliate link down below. If you guys like the content of this video and want to help support me or thank me for doing this video, please go ahead and use that affiliate link if you want to use this service. Otherwise, please leave a comment down below saying if you didn't like Bitcoin.tax, if you looked at it and didn't like it, what other services that you used that you found valuable. I'll go ahead and pin some of those top comments to the top there. So let's get right to it, guys. Bitcoin.tax. I actually like it. I think it's a good little service and it worked well for me. It's not perfect. It did have a couple of issues and I can't say exactly what those are akin to. This is my experience. Keep in mind, I'm not a CPA. I'm not a tax guy. I do my own taxes. And actually one of the reasons I chose Bitcoin.tax is because it works with the service that I use, which is called TaxAct. I chose TaxAct because I like the user interface. I like how it walks you through the tax process. Its fee was reasonable, and I've been using it for several years, and it keeps my returns in there, so it knows if I have some things that need to move from one year to the next. So if you're going to choose a service, make sure that you can do that, right? Make sure that it's going to hold your data year after year. So back to Bitcoin.tax. So how much does Bitcoin.tax cost? Well, it's going to cost you a minimum of $30. All right, minimum of $30. That's for 1,000 transactions. It says here from $30 a year up to 10,000 transactions. That's a little misleading. It's $30 a year for 1,000 transactions, $40 for 5,000, and $50 for 10,000 transactions. Most of you are going to fall within this individual plan. All right, so let's go ahead and log in. I'm going to use my actual real account to show you because, I mean, how else would you get to see it? So I'm going to log in. I logged in with Google because that's always nice and fun. Thank you, Google, for OAuth if you're the ones that developed that. Maybe it was Facebook. And first things first, when you log in, you're not going to see these two sections right here because you haven't imported anything. What you're going to see are these tabs here and this screen right here. And this is where the rubber hits the road with Bitcoin.tax, in my opinion. One of the reasons I chose them is because they work with all the exchanges that I actually trade with. Binance, Bitfinex until they stopped letting me trade, Bittrex, Coinbase, GDAX, and they have a lot of the other major exchanges, Kraken, HitBTC, Poloniex down here, standard CSV file upload if you need to do that. All right, so they work with all the big ones. One up here, I don't see those BitMEX. I don't see BitMEX up here. That's probably going to be a little painful if you guys use BitMEX. So, but either way, you can add trades here if you wanted to. There's a number of ways to do this. But when you do import them, and I'll walk you through that in a minute. When you do import them, you're going to see this screen, and this is going to pop up out of nowhere. This kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, how do I get back to importing my trades? I kind of noticed this scroll bar was rather large on this trading tab, and that's how you import. So when you first import, one of these, you're going to have to scroll down on this trading tab to be able to import some more. That's just something to note, kind of a little weird navigational quirk to the platform, but you do import under trading. So importing is fairly simple. You click on these plus buttons here, obviously, and you do have two ways to import to most of the exchanges, or from most of the exchanges. Number one is a manual import. Number two is an API import. Now, the API import worked really well for me in most cases, except for with Binance. I had a hard time with Binance. It took a number of times for that to actually take. I don't know if that's due to Binance or due to Bitcoin.tax. I don't have any data on that. So if you do run into issues here, it did finally work for me, but it took a while. Now, a few of them have API only, like Bitfinex has API only, as you can see here. And I'm not going to walk you through how to set up an API key. They do have instructions that are very straightforward. And, don't be intimidated by setting up an API key. The only thing I'll say that usually the secret keys are only given once. So, keep those windows open until you have everything imported. I will say that. So, have Bitfinex here open in another window and have Bitcoin.tax open in a separate tab. And then, once the importing is done, you can go ahead and close that window. Coinbase was relatively simple, actually very simple. They kind of had an OAuth an OAuth feel to it, and then you just click import trades, and it was done. It was the easiest thing to do in the world. GDAX, not so simple, but their API did work extremely well, and that imported all the trades in through that. And they do have the passphrase with GDAX. Keep that in mind. You'll have to gather that, and their instructions walk you through that. So once you do have everything imported, however, you're going to get this graph up here for your trading, by month, and then you're going to get a list down here of all of your transactions. Now, one thing to note, excuse me, if I don't mention it later, one thing to note is the fees. Okay, they do wrap the fees into the cost of the trade. Okay, so that's one thing I did notice and had questions on. It's not particularly obvious, but it is wrapped into the cost of the trade and the subsequent close of the trade. And here it breaks down the fees. It doesn't when you do a download. Just wanted to put that out there. So now, just a note on the net US dollars. Mine says 1.5 million. I don't have 1.5 million dollars. This is the total amount that I've traded. So in other words, if you were to trade $50 worth of Bitcoin 3 times, that would show as $150 worth of transactions. So moving on here, you do have a few tabs once you import. You have an income tab. This doesn't necessarily affect you with income, but if you did get paid during the tax year for salary, if you did mine, or if you did receive tips, you would claim it here as income. And I didn't do much of that. I really didn't have anything to, I really didn't have any tips. No one, you guys don't tip me with Bitcoin, so I don't have anything to, import here. But I think this is more important for miners than it is for anyone else. Okay, this is more important for mining. I also don't do mining, so unfortunately I don't have any information on how to do this. It does mention to go ahead and enter your platform here and also enter the address, okay, in which you mine. So I'm thinking maybe this trolls the blockchain and actually pulls in the information, but I don't have any data on that. All right, so next is spending. If you spend your cryptocurrencies, this is where you are going to add your spends or donations. And this is important because those are taxable events. Those are basically trades. You're trading into US dollar at this point, and those need to be tracked here. You can do it via a CSV spreadsheet here, and it does kind of walk you through how to set this up. Gives you some examples. So if you need to do that, you can go ahead and do that. The opening tab is extremely important. If you take possession of one Bitcoin, you probably paid for that Bitcoin. You probably weren't given that Bitcoin. All right. If you were given it, that technically would be considered income, or if it was from a loved one, that would be considered a gift, in which case you probably wouldn't have to actually log it with your taxes. Just keep records of that gift, unless it was over $10,000, unless it was over $10,000 value. Now, here is where, excuse me, under opening tab is where you would enter the source, like, via personal purchase. I purchased Bitcoin, I purchased 1 Bitcoin, and here's the price, here's the fees. So if you went through local Bitcoins, you can do that here if you don't import that through the trading import tab. All right, but you're going to want to log these, otherwise it's going to consider it with a 0 cost basis, which means it's income and you will be taxed on the full amount. So again, going back to my example, if you come into possession of a Bitcoin for $8,000, you're going to want to go ahead and say $8,000 here with any appropriate fees, and then log that. That way you can, if you sold it for $12,000, you're only going to go ahead and pay for the $4,000 gain. All right. Now, once all that's done, you're going to go to calculate, and it's going to go ahead and calculate your actual capital gains. All right. So here's your kind of capital gain. Here's your gain graph. Okay. Month by month, it's going to go ahead and calculate the gain here. It's going to calculate your tax, and you can change your tax rate if you want to here. All right, defaults to 10%, but you can change that if you're in a higher tax rate, or if you just want to do 0, that's fine. You can do 0 as well. And then down here is kind of where the rubber hits the road. This is where you need to consult a tax advisor to see what kind of reporting you're going to do. Now, for those of you not familiar or new to investing, what do these things mean? So first in, first out is, I buy Bitcoin this day, this day, this day, then I sell Bitcoin this day, this day, this day. That means the first one in is the first one out. The first one in is the first one out, because things can get complicated. If you take 5 Bitcoin trades, in and 3 Bitcoin trades out, how do you categorize that? And so this is where your tax professional is going to come into play. I am not a tax professional. I'm not going to guide you on this particular one, but via this matrix here, it shows you based on the classification how much your gain is. And as you can see here, I go from 22,000 up to just under 26,600 up to. So there's a big difference there in how you go ahead and file this and consult a tax advisor. So once you're done here, I was alerted with more sales and purchases. Review the reports tab for details. All right, so I'm going to go to the reports tab here. Excuse me. Now, it's interesting with more sales and purchases because if you've traded with GDAX or any other platform where it literally breaks out your trades, and GDAX does a good job of this, you can buy Bitcoin. You're like, I want to buy a Bitcoin, and you can buy one Bitcoin at $10,000, and it's a done deal, one shot. If you want to sell Bitcoin, you may have 8 or 9 transactions that fills into, and so that could be weird within this software, and that's something you're going to have to navigate, and that's where I found this software lacked a little bit. I found the software lacked a little bit in that way because, and I think that depends on how you calculate your last in first out, highest price first out, lowest cost first out. I think when you do this, it changes how it calculates everything, and you're going to be left with some gaps. And so what I did, and I recommend you do, is download something manually. Okay, you're going to want to download things manually. Now, I didn't do anything down here. These are actually my closing positions at the end of the year, I believe. So this is what I held over into the next year, about 12,000 worth of positions. And so this should stay here in Bitcoin.tax, and next year we should be able to pull this out, kind of like what I talked about with Tax Act. So at this particular point, you're going to want to download everything. And now we're going to have this download button right here. It's a little muted. It's not as prominent as it should be. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download this. And you can have a Tax Act format, a CSV format, the Form 8949 statement, a PDF, or TurboTax /H&R Block, whichever one you choose to do. So I chose Tax Act. I've done this a few times. You can see the 5 there. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. Now I'm using Open Office. I don't actually pay for Excel. If you don't want to pay for Excel and you have to have, if you have to have this, I chose to download Open Office. You can Google it. It's free. And when you do that, you're going to get this text import. I'm not advocating, one over another. Oh, here we go. But what you're going to have to do is change the character set here to Unicode. UTF-8 is what I've chosen. And you're going to click on separated by, and you're going to select comma. Originally, it was done fixed with and something or other, but you're going to have to click separated by, and I think it was like this actually. And you're going to have to unclick that, click that until it delineates into description, date acquired, date sold, sale proceeds, cost, blah, blah, blah. Now, when you get this spreadsheet, something to note is that you're going to have a cost basis. Kind of like what we talked earlier, right? But this is with each individual transaction, not like some Bitcoin you bought off some dude you found on the street. So here, this cost basis on this particular $157 trade, now keep in mind this is a trade. My cost basis wasn't 0, okay? So you're going to have to do a little bit of homework here to make sure that your cost basis lines up. And this has to do, I think, with the accounting method that you select, under calculate. I think this has to do with this method, but you're going to have to do your own due diligence, guys. Trading's a lot of fun. Taxes aren't, but you're just going to have to deal with it unless you get in trouble. And you're going to end up paying more tax than you normally would if you leave this blank. So don't leave this blank. Now, an easy way to do this to figure out, because I've got a lot of transactions here, guys. I've got over 1,300 transactions here, and it's going to be a pain in the butt to do this. Now, what I recommend doing if you don't know how to work spreadsheets, bear with me here because there's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of stuff going on. If you know how to do this, fast forward a little bit in the video. So I'm going to click on this corner tab right here, and what I'm going to want to do is sort everything by this E column, and you can do that. Spreadsheets make that really simple. Working with data is what they do, so this would be painless. what we're going to do, now this is very similar to Excel as well if you're just working with Excel, or something similar if you're going to use Google Sheets. I didn't for some reason. I'm using this. Google Sheets is a little slow, and when you get actually this many tabs, over 1,000 lines, it can be kind of weird. So you want to use a native software, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Data, and I'm going to click Sort. All right, there's shortcuts up here, but we're going to do this the reading way. Data and Sort. And it brings up a handy dandy menu. Now we're dealing with column E here, so sort by column E, ascending. You can choose ascending or descending, it just means the order, and click OK. So again, column E, ascending. And look at that, we have a lot of with zero cost basis. Now this is going to save us a bunch of time because I'm not interested in these ones that I have cost basis on. The software figured that out for us. Now what you're going to note that some of these, so here's that one for $157. So you're going to do your research and figure out, you know, on this date when you purchased it, where you purchased it at. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell us what exchange. Okay, so you're going to have to do that homework on your own to try to figure out what's what. But these ones down here that have 00, you know, I mean, it's 00 for quite some time. You're not going to have a ton like this, but you are going to have some. Now, what I want you to notice, it's the amount of Bitcoin that we bought and sold here. It's 0.0000009 Bitcoin. So 90 Satoshis worth of Bitcoin. Let's just go ahead and do some simple math here. So we're going to, let's say Bitcoin in August, I'm just going to call it was 5,000. 0.0000009. Less than a penny. So that's why this is $0, because it was literally less than $0. And you're going to run into this, and you get these transactions when you trade on GDAX and all those other currencies, and you know you're trying to fill orders. You get these small fills. This is not normal for tax preparation to have 00000. I don't know how this is going to go, and so we'll just have to wait and see. But just be honest with it. You know, show the transactions. I'm sure they will understand that, you know, 0.0000000 whatever of Bitcoin is equal to less than a penny. All right. So deal with that, but deal with these transactions. Go ahead and find your basis. I have some more here. Now, if you really want to get tricky with it, to be honest with you, you can do this. So this is a bit, if you want to get tricky and don't just want to scroll. Go back to sort. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to sort everything again. Okay, sort everything again, and go back to data, and go back to sort, and then you're going to want to sort with multiple columns. Sort by column E, then by column D. Okay, because you're going to want to sort by 0, then you're going to want to sort by 0 again over here. And what that's going to do is that's going to put things in order. So you're going to get rid of these zeros, and then you're going to get to the ones that actually have some value in them. Okay, so you have 1 cent, 2 cent, 4 cent, 8 cent, and then it continues. So these are really the ones that we're interested in. Only these few right here. But that's a good amount of change right there, guys. That's a $4,000 transaction, $3,600 transaction. This total is like a good, I don't know, 15-20% of what I traded in 2017, at least in terms of gains. So it's important to do this exercise, and I wanted to show you that. So after you do this, you're going to want to go ahead and hit File, Save As, save it as whatever you're going to save it as, and then you're going to go ahead and sort that away, okay, and send that off to your Tax Act software. I'm not going to walk through Tax Act because, you know, it's going to be a really long video if I do that. Nor am I going to walk you through how to do the API import because that's going to be fairly long as well. But there you go, guys. Bitcoin.tax. I do have an affiliate link, full disclosure, down there in my description. So go ahead and click on that if you want to help support the channel or if you like the content. So that's a little bit about Bitcoin.tax. I like it. I used it. It was pretty good. It helped me out. I didn't have to deal with scraping all the data together and deal with that crap. It was $40, but you know what? It was worth it to me. So do with that information what you will. I'm going to log out so you can't steal my information. And thanks for joining me, guys. Like the video, subscribe if you like the video, and have a good day. I will see you next time.